Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Some Parts Not Included, a podcast where three lifelong amputee friends hang out and talk about all things amputee related. My name is Amanda Marie. I'm a right leg amputee, and these are my co hosts, the Jamies.
Hi, I'm Jamie, and I'm a right arm amputee.
Hello, I am James, and I am a left arm amputee. Welcome back, everybody.
You know what's really interesting about this month is that it is Limb Difference and Limb Loss Awareness Month. So it's very nice to be chatting and to bring this to all those who may benefit from it. So happy Limb Loss and Limb Difference Awareness Month to everyone.
It's our month.
Woo woo! Cheers!
It's our month, baby.
I don't have anything to cheers you with. Sorry.
Oh.
James, I got aggressive.
I know. I think I just broke my camera.
Yeah, I didn't even know a few years ago that was such a thing, even that we had a month to bring awareness to our everyday life. I think it's super cool, though, and something definitely worth to celebrate in a time for educating people.
Absolutely. I think your pup agrees. It's really interesting. I think, we have this day, and then we also have Persons with Disabilities Day in December as well. And so I think, it's really great to celebrate these little days when we can and kind of do something for us, kind of celebrate us and the fact that it's not a bad thing, it's not a negative thing, it's a fun thing, and super positive.
We're all built very uniquely, and like everybody, not just amputees specifically, but everybody.
Even the normies.
So yeah, exactly. Even the normies, and everybody is worth celebrating, and I think that's a beautiful thing. And just thank you to our entire community and everyone's that's watched and subscribed and liked and followed along and joined our fun adventure that we decided to start. We absolutely have had a great time with it. So thank you for being here and being a part of it.
Amputees and non-amputees, everyone out there watching, we're very thankful.
Yeah, we appreciate every single one of you.
That's right.
So if today, I could do a heart, I would. Thanks, Amanda.
There you go, Amanda.
Thank you.
I got like a half heart.
I know.
Weird.
So today we're going to talk about what it's like to date one of us.
Which is actually, I think, a really funny subject.
Yeah,
I would say like date one of us, or even just be around one of us, because even, our best friends who are normies or able-bodied, they also probably have very specific things that they would say are very interesting about being around us, and stuff like that. So I've heard quite a few really interesting ones, or maybe even some from my point of view that I can share first.
Yeah.
So I think, when I was really young, I was in my teens, one of the things that I was always scared of, or kind of scared of not being able to have is a relationship or being physical with someone. And so I think that because of the body image issues, I think that's not just an amputee thing. I think that's an everyone thing. But I think that especially for amputees, it becomes really magnified just simply because we are different or we look different. And also because in those years, a lot of emphasis is put on how you look or how you present yourself. And so, I can talk a little bit about that first. And so one of the big fears that I had in high school is, like holding someone's hand, or someone being comfortable or intimate with me, and the fact that like I don't have an arm and things like that. So I would say like one of the really funny things or interesting things about dating me is that you will always walk on my left side. Like, because I always want, like to hold my hand, or for me to like hold, your arm or whatever. You'll always walk to the left of me. And so I think that that's probably like a really neat one or interesting one. I'd say another one is that I will give you the puppy dog eyes when it comes to to tying my laces. Like, so like every single time it's time to tie my laces, because for me, I have to get down on the ground to tie my laces, and I have to like really contort my body to get as close as possible to my laces to be able to tie them. And that's just how I learned how to tie them. And so for me, I'm always like, could you do it for me? Like, can you tie my laces? So that's like another really interesting
I didn't
one
know
too.
that was an amputee thing. I thought that was just like a woman thing. They gave you the puppy dog guys to
Maybe.
not just tie the laces, but just
Were you tying up your girlfriend's laces, James?
I personally wasn't, because we would have been taking a longer time if we had to do that. He's definitely tying my laces so we can get out sooner.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Which
like
is kind of funny because I'm the leg amputee and I don't think anyone does that for me or has ever really done that for me.
Tied your laces?
Or just like I'm thinking even not so much in a relationship, but you know when you go to a shoe store and they like help you put their shoes on, it's so funny / awkward when the salesperson's trying to get it over the artificial foot because it doesn't fit very well over like a hard foot. And so it's always really interesting to watch them navigate it. And some people are really nervous about it and other people are just really cool, like they think it's the coolest thing ever, and it's fun to I guess go through
You're
that
like, welcome to my world. I have to do that every day.
yeah, I have a rotator knee.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm able to really quickly just flip it up and around and just do the shoe myself, which looks, it's kind of like more
That's a trick. That's a leg amputee trick.
it is. It's like you do it around drunk people and they're like they die.
A good bar trick.
Sometimes of laughter, sometimes of fear. Yeah. Yeah, it's a good party trick.
Another, I would say like another really interesting fear that I have or I had was that like I wouldn't be able to do certain things for people or take care of people, and that definitely goes away as well. And so I think that realistically dating me is pretty normal. The other, I would say my friends say when we go shopping, my able-bodied friends or my normies, when we go shopping or when we're out, they're always like, I'll carry your bag for you. Like, you don't have to, but okay.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I'll agree to that.
Yeah, exactly. I would say another really fun one, we kind of touched on this a number of episodes ago, is the bonuses about being around me or being with me, is that there are some really, really great things. Right, Lucy? There are some really, really great things about being around me, is that sometimes we can skip lines at like theme parks, or we can travel cheaper simply because you're helping me with certain things. So that's, I think, a really great bonus. And yeah.
Oh yeah, I take all my partners to Tremblant for the free lift ticket.
That's his first date option.
My companion. Yeah, it's a great first date option because you also just get, well, I mean, I was gonna say, you get to show that you're like a decent snowboarder too, and like impress the girl with your moves, right?
Right. That's really what women want.
Top of my list.
Very good snowboarder.
So when you're dating, okay, that's, just remember that, okay? Like, that's my trick. I get, no, it's funny that I would even say that because I'm not a good snowboarder at all. In fact, I snowboard with a buddy of mine who has one leg, and he's way better than me. So that's like, he would be the one impressing them. But I would never take him out with me if I was trying to impress a girl. So she'd be like, he's way cooler than you. I'm gonna go home with him.
The key to that, the key to picking up women, James, quote unquote.
I need to know. Please tell me.
Is to be very good at snowboarding. I'm really, really
That's
surprised
what
you knew
I
this.
thought. That's what I thought this whole time. That's what I've been working on, baby.
Keep working at it.
No, I know. I'm just messing around, obviously, but I don't know. You know,
I have a question for both of you. Have you ever dated somebody that got insecure? I don't know if insecure is the right word, but or upset because of people staring at you. Like they notice everywhere you go that
I
people are staring, or like how they react.
I would say that I've had maybe one or two friends who are just like, that's not cool. And I would say, okay, this is going to probably be really weird. Um, that they're men in some, I would say like the majority of the cases. But which is really interesting because I guess I just don't notice. But I would also say the opposite of that is that if I am with someone who looks different, not necessarily in the same way. So, like if I'm with if I'm with a person of color or something like that, and they could be experiencing something, I would notice sometimes, or I would want to do something about it. Whereas they're just like, let it go. I experience it every day, right? So maybe
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it's the exact same. It's probably not, but maybe it's just because I don't notice it anymore, maybe, or it doesn't bother me really anymore. Maybe. What about you, James? What do you think?
what do I think? That's a good question. Sometimes I think, sometimes I don't.
No thoughts in there? No. Just,
No,
yeah.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I've had people that are like very overprotective when it comes to that. You know, they notice when people are staring to the point where you don't even really have to do anything yourself. They do get a very over. I have to like tell them to like it's fine, like relax, like I'm used to it. You
Yeah.
know, I don't even really care at this point. Like, it depends on the day, though. Sometimes you do care, right? If you're having one of those days where you just like where you want to cover up and not be stared at. But usually, I'm like just used to it, and it's fine. Like I have a very noticeable um, arm as well, like prosthetic limb. So if you're staring, like you're gonna see it, right? Like it's very out there. So people are always kind of looking. Like I was just at the superstore today, and someone was kind of staring at my arm, and I think they were like trying to figure it out. It's just an everyday thing that sort of happens. But yeah, I've had a few. I mean, I've had a few girlfriends that have been like nasty, not nasty, but like have said things to people, and that's not what I wanted, really. You know what I mean? When
No.
someone's staring and stuff, like I,
I
yeah,
I have experienced a lot of friends get very defensive. But I used to have an ex that like almost would forget I was the one who everyone was staring at. So everywhere we would walk and people are staring at me, I don't even notice because, like you said, we are very used to people staring at us. And he would get raging mad and be like, "These people are all staring at me." Like, nobody's staring at you. They're staring at your girlfriend with one leg. Like that's but he always interpreted it as everyone was staring at him and looking down at him and everything. And anyways, so that was always it brought insecurities onto him, but in a different way. And I always thought that was really interesting because I was so used to it. I didn't even notice that people, for the most part, you don't notice unless someone's being pretty obnoxious about their staring.
yeah,
Um, so and aside from that, I feel like other like people have noticed, but they know that I want to have a positive approach. So I don't like when my people start getting upset or angry. I think it closes other people off that instead of inviting them into the conversation. and educating people and creating that awareness. So I prefer the positive approach. So
I
if I have a
usually
partner, that's what I want them to do. So part of dating me would be understanding and having patience for a lot of people in public and knowing how I want to educate people or how I want to, and also knowing my boundaries with that. Because it is nice when your friends or your loved ones or whoever you're with, if you're having a bad day or someone looks or does something nasty, that you don't have to be the one to stand up for yourself. It is really validating when that other person kind of steps in and helps educate, so it doesn't feel like just you all the time.
that's a I was just gonna say, like, that's one of the conversations that I have when I, before I start dating girls, even like when you're going on dates with them, and if you decide that you want to, keep dating or whatever, it's like, as long as you're okay with the fact that, you're gonna get, you're dating a crazy amputee who gets, you know what I mean,
It's
gets
like
stared at,
dating
or has like,
celebrity, but not in a good way.
Not, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
like, yeah, people, as long as you're cool with that, that sometimes, like, especially when you go to like water parks and stuff like that, anything they do where you got to take your arm off, or um like, that's,
Where it
I feel
involves
like that's when you get a bit more stares, or when you're using your limb to do something that usually like would take two hands, and you got to be very intricate. Like you mentioned, going into the getting someone to put a shoe on your prosthetic foot. Well, I was getting like skates not long ago, and they give you the skates, their hockey skates, in case anyone was wondering what kind of skates I was talking about. And then to tie them up, I was you guys are laughing at me. So I put the skates on, and then I have to tie them up, and he's just sitting there watching me, and I'm just a lot slower at tying my skates because I got to use one hand to tighten it all the way to the top, each whatever loop, and then when you get to the top, I got to sit there and like strategically tie it with the prosthetic hand, which is actually kind of like, I get compliments all the time. Like, people are like, that's really cool. And that's, that arm's really cool. And it's awesome that you can use it for that. And like, the more I use it, the faster I get. But I'm definitely not tying my skates like super fast, right? That's it. And then when you feel the pressure of other people watching you, I'll like screw up and have to like start again or something. And yeah, I remember that day I was trying to go really fast, and I was pulling my laces just really hard to try and get it done fast. And I ripped open skin on my pinky, and it was like bleeding pretty bad. Like, I had ripped a good chunk of my skin, and there was a lady sitting next to me, and she just like went in her purse and handed me a Band-Aid. And I was at that moment so grateful. She's like, "Here, take this." And I'm like, "Thank you so much." I needed it because I was like clearly falling
you
apart.
know them.
But yeah, I kind of got off track there.
Just a
Um,
little. It's okay.
just a little. I do that sometimes, though.
It's okay. Yeah, we all
Little
do.
James
Yeah,
style.
yeah.
One thing
Um,
I was going to say, to bring it back, I feel like when Jamie, I think you brought up this subject kind of in a way, just saying like, oh, what is it like to actually date someone as an amputee? I know we discussed online dating before and kind of introducing ourselves or that situation, what that's like. But kind of getting into a different part of dating, and that's the like, if you're going long term with someone who's an amputee and what that's like. So when I sat and I thought about it, I haven't the majority of my life I've been single, and I've done things completely on my own and I'm independent. And so I guess the truth is, I don't need anything from anyone that I'm dating, particularly, other than acceptance and an open mind. Sorry, my computer reminded me I'm donating blood tomorrow. Just wanting them to understand like there's going to be challenges that come along the way. Maybe it's the fact that I have to go through surgery. That would probably be the time that it would be very helpful to have a person that you live with and can kind of help out, just cook or help out with the dogs and taking them outside and those things. Just because I can do it doesn't mean it wouldn't be astronomically easier. if I had somebody's help with it. The everyday life, there's things that people could do to make things easier, but that's in any relationship, that everybody has strengths and weaknesses. Just like if I was able bodied, I would think it's absolutely wonderful if someone always cut my grass and shoveled my snow or cleared my car off, because I don't want to do those things. So I can do it. It's just nice. So I don't think there's too many things aside from surgery life that I feel, and going out in public, because that's probably where you just don't know what you're going to get, and maybe preparing those people that you get a lot of interesting experiences that you can't predict, and going into it with a positive mind and how you would like to approach it.
Yeah,
Yeah, definitely. I feel like
for
I'm the
sure.
same way, you know. I feel like I don't need help with things either, really, to be honest with you. So, and I don't, I always want to do everything myself and kind of prove myself anyway. But there are a few things that I appreciate, like around the kitchen, I guess, when with my partner. Like, I'd rather her cut the vegetables because, like, if we're like doing, if we're like making a meal or whatever, and it comes time to cut the tomatoes, well, do you want them mashed? Because that's what I will do to them. Are we having mashed tomatoes today? Because if you want them sliced nicely, you might want to use your two hands to do that. I know there are certain tools that you can get that help you with vegetables in the kitchen and cutting and stuff like that, but I don't have those tools. I wish I did. Um, but so like these are the small things that I think of, like dating and like what it's like. I was trying to think like what is it like to date me specific to my amputation and
I have something I can add though.
oh
Me
yeah,
too. I was gonna, yeah, go
Oh,
ahead,
go ahead,
Ian.
Jamie.
I want to hear these.
Um, it will be the entire amputee community. So when you start, or if you ever do, date one of us types an amputee, basically, is that if they're connected to the community, you it will be like a whole new world, like the Aladdin song, um, that will kind of open up to you. That you kind of you'll start to be able to be like to learn things easily about amputees. You'll realize that there are just such a strong community around. There is such a strong community around that amputee, of other amputees, and that we pretty much always have something to talk about when it comes to amputation, or like our lives as amputees. I think that that's probably a huge one, is that
I've had
if
I
they're
just
connected.
I've had girls jealous of that. Now that I think of it, I've had
Really?
girls jealous that I am friends with other amputee women and talk
Oh,
to them all the time, and like that's something. It's crazy, right? Like I obviously one of the things that I want in somebody is like just like trust and honesty, and I'm always upfront and like the type of person that wants to like control that or like are really controlling and don't want you to have friends. Like I stay away from those types of people, but I have had some like girlfriends or whatever that are like, oh, who's that Amanda girl that you're talking to? Like she's like been a friend of mine for so long. She's another amputee. Like it's
I'm
these are
such a
my
threat.
yeah. You are. You're a threat. Absolutely. No, but I've had that's. It's funny you say you talk about community and like it. All I want to do now is sing the whole new world song.
I know.
It's
Well,
stuck in my head. Just so
it's
you
really
know.
funny, James, actually, that you say that, because do you remember a situation when my marriage first ended and I was dating someone? Do you remember this? You and
Maybe.
I, you and I were supposed to go out to dinner one day
Yes.
with Ava,
I absolutely remember that.
and I canceled last minute. And you're like, what the hell?
I cursed you.
And
I was already there. I was like, oh, that's all right.
you
I had
were
a beer.
not.
Good time.
You were not already there. Come on.
I
I
was
would
in
never do
Westboro.
that. Yeah, I would never do that. Come on now. Anyway, my point is that the person that I was dating, very, 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 very short term. That one was very short term. He did not feel comfortable with me meeting you for dinner. Now that you say that, actually, it's really funny
Yes.
because that's the reason why I canceled. Because he was like, "Oh, I don't know this person," and I was like, "Well, then come." And he was like, "No, I'm not coming to that." I was like,
Yeah, absolutely. I know you told me that,
Right.
and I was like, dude, I've known you how many years, and you've been dating this guy for 3 weeks, and you didn't, tell him to go fly a kite. You're going to see your friend. Like, I've been friends with this guy for so long. But yeah, that's definitely one thing I don't like in a partner is when they're jealous and controlling. Like, I have lots of friends of females and males, and like there's got to be trust. Like, you know what I mean, when you go out to meet up with a
Yeah,
friend, and
for sure.
there are those people that don't think a man and a woman just can't be friends, right? So I get where they're coming from, but it's like when it comes to amputee friends, it's just like they have to
it's different.
understand that, like,
It's yeah,
yeah, man,
for
it's
sure.
different. Yeah, it's
I
like
even
a
remember telling I grew up with basically the majority of guy friends. So as I started to get older and then you start dating people, they get really jealous of those relationships, and they're like my brothers to me. So I don't think of them that way, and I've always had to be pretty stern and strict that I wasn't going to cut friends out of my life that I've been friends with for 20, 30 years, just because of their insecurities. And even introducing you, James, to my boyfriends, I've said the exact same thing in the past. Like, we're really close. If you're jealous or you have a problem, then pack your bags because
pretty much, right?
that's not how we work around here. That's my opinion. The other thing I was going to add is just as like a funny thing about dating me as an amputee is I tend to leave pieces of my leg around sometimes, if that makes sense. So I have like the liner to my leg. I don't often wear all around my house all the time. Sometimes I'll take it off and wash it, and then I'll leave it in the sink to dry. And so I often forget until someone goes to use the sink and is like, this is in the way. Sometimes I'll have my swim leg or a recreational leg. Those will just be randomly sitting around, or like have them tucked behind a door. So you might get like surprised if you open a
Just
door,
sticking out
shut a
from under your
door,
bed.
yeah, and there's just a limb laying around. And I have an absurd amount of rubbing alcohol usually on hand, which is just super handy, if you ask me. Because if you use a public washroom, I always feel so much better that I can just take out my rubbing alcohol spray, like clean everything down, wait, disinfect it, then utilize the bathroom. It's totally an advantage. So,
Cool.
or just like spraying your hands and cleaning it when like you touch anything out in public. That's how I am. So,
Yep.
Yeah, that was another area I was going to, is that they have to be used to just arms laying around the house. Or actually, you know what? As I am like spend more time with a person and a partner, they become better at finding where my arm is or where I left in the house. I think that's just a woman thing versus a guy thing. Like, guys are terrible at finding where they left. I'm increasingly getting worse as I get older with that. And it's like, where did I leave my darn arm? Like,
I
where did I put
actually
that thing?
I
Oh,
took
it's on the
this
shelf in the bathroom.
I took
Okay.
a section of my closet and I started to use that as like my leg storage area for extra
Don't
sockets
go in the
or
closet.
what.
Don't go in the drawer in my bedroom. It's full of limbs. Yeah, you just gotta
If you
know you're
open up
dating a
that
guy
side,
who's got
if
a
you
dresser full of arms,
if you open up that side of the closet door, it might be
legs.
shocking. Just different or
Shocking.
different covers I have for my legs, different stuff that we need. Like maybe it's different socks, liners, belts, different ways to. I'm trying to think of other things that I have, but just we have a lot of it's weird, but
pieces. There's a lot
yeah,
of
we get
like
a lot of supplies because you run through these things pretty quickly sometimes. So it's nice to have backups, or if your weight fluctuates or anything like that, sometimes you need to pad up the material in between to fill in the gaps of your legs. So you'll get different types of cloth liners or that are breathable that you can store. So it's all these like weird
accessories.
supplies that, yeah, if you looked at it, you'd be like, what in the
What
hell
is it?
is
Like
this?
it's just like big socks and like yeah, they're like
Yeah.
liners and like people are probably wondering who aren't amputees, like trying to even picture what they are, probably can't. But
And I'm gonna like, I'll bring up an insecurity that I used to have that I'm not as insecure about anymore with the type of leg I have. But my leg used to stink so awful. And I'm not even gonna lie, like my
I
leg
knew
would
that's where you
smell.
were going with that.
Yeah. Like they're because we sweat and we're sweating inside a device where there's no like it's not breathable. There's bacteria obviously that grows. So it's just like an armpit that's got like no air room, right? So it
You
can
think
get
legs are worse for
smelly.
that than arms?
Probably
Because I know a few leg amputees that
stink.
real bad. Like I've been with a few leg amputees. They take off their leg to drive, and I'm like, bro, roll the window down.
So the liner I have now, I don't feel gets as smelly because I'm constantly washing it and it's silicone, so it's not as porous to absorb the bacteria. So it doesn't smell as bad long term. However, my old leg that I had, I used to just put like a cloth um sock on, I guess. So it was like a cotton liner. And that thing would just be like midday would stink so bad and I'd
Oh
have to
yeah,
change it out, and they were just awful for stinking, and it was a big insecurity of mine. Like
yeah.
even if I was really really uncomfortable somewhere, I wouldn't have taken my leg off because I knew if I took it off it was going to smell really bad. So um
Especially if you sweat a lot on top of it, like it would just add to it. Obviously,
yeah.
I think even to add to what you're saying basically is in the summertime, I think that another thing that people should realize or get used to is that we often shower a lot more, mainly because we have trouble controlling our temperature. And also when we sweat, we feel like a lot of our bodies, like not just the key areas where you would sweat, but like a lot of our bodies, like
Yeah.
I just need a shower. Like I just need to clean. Like I just, and that's the same as well for like cleaning our limbs. I think that's
Correct. Yes. It's really important that we our hygiene around our leg. Like if we aren't,
mhm,
if I'm having a really like in the summer, like you said, if I'm sweating that much, I might have two showers, or if I'm not having like a full shower, I'm definitely washing my stump down a lot more.
mhm,
Even if I like maybe I'm doing it two, three, four times a day just to make sure that I'm maintaining like getting rid of that bacteria, because it's not just the smell, then it leads to other problems like sores and blah blah blah. But
mhm,
for the sake of the
exactly.
conversation, that is something was really insecure about. This leg, it doesn't bring on as many insecurities, but I will say that I started having to wear a suspension belt that's very wide. Um, here, it's pretty wide that goes around my middle, and this is like a foam material, and that it does absorb my sweat, and so does this, whatever the heck material this is, but anyway, so that all absorbs my sweat, and I started to become insecure again because on really bad days it gets very sweaty, and after so much time it needs to be replaced. And it's not something you can just throw in the washing machine. Um, you can like hand wash it, and it takes like a week to dry. So super useful.
Great. That's a great situation to
I know
have.
what you're
Yeah.
talking about. Those liners there, yeah, they're neoprene or something like that. Yeah, they suck up the stink and the sweat, and like they don't dry very easily.
But it's not something that I've ever had anybody tell me that I stink. I'm very self-conscious
Oh, that's good.
about my smell, my hygiene. So actually, I'm
You
like
take care of
hyper.
it.
Yeah, well, I'm hyper conscious. I like to be very clean and take care of it. And therefore, I often more have people tell me that I smell good. So that's kind of nice and kind of battles those insecurities that I had like growing up because I could smell it, then you fear. But obviously, if you have a partner, someone you're living with, or in a long term relationship with, that's something that does kind of creep up. On like too much information probably
It'd be funny
level,
to
but
get the perspective of the partners who have been with someone long term with an amputee. You know what I mean? Like if you have been with someone long term or whatever, like their perspective on dating.
that we would want on the show.
Let's skip my ex.
Let's skip my ex. Yeah, I don't know. Skip all my exes. Yeah, it's I'm cool with them. So I'm sure that they'd come on and tell you only good things, right? Oh, what it's like to date James. How much
Well,
time you got, buddy?
yeah, but it would have nothing to do with you being an amputee, just you as a human being.
He's an asshole. He's late for everything. He can't. He doesn't pick up his socks. Those. I'm not really an asshole. The other things, maybe. I don't know.
I think deep down we're all a little bit of an asshole sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's
I
I'm
don't
true.
think I am, but sure.
no.
Just kidding.
Oh. I'm like,
Amanda's
"Wow,
like,
Becky."
what? You not? Kidding. I think everyone has their days. That's for sure. I actually thought of something. It's more geared towards Jamie, but have you ever had anyone hold your nub or your residual limb, and how do you feel about that? Like they want to hold on to it.
Yes. Yes.
Does
Yes.
it
I
does that
had
does that weird you out?
yes.
It does, eh?
um
Me too.
so I actually dated someone who was like really like I don't know, really focused on it, I guess sometimes. And it would creep me out a lot.
Hyper
Um
focused on it. Yeah, I've been with someone like that.
I don't like it. Just go on my left side for freak's sakes. Like mm-mm. Yeah, I was not comfortable with it. I think that if it's the right person, I don't think it matters. But
Yeah.
I just think like mm-mm. Yeah. And I think I was too young to even like really be really comfortable with myself when I was dating that person too. So, yeah, I think I don't know. Just thinking about it makes me uncomfortable. That's for sure. What about you?
I've never had anybody want to like hold my stump particularly,
Well, that
other
would,
than
as a leg amputee, that'd be weird.
yeah. I mean, I guess it's never yeah, it's not as big of a focus. But even going back to something that Jamie said earlier about like sides that you hold hands or someone walks on, I usually like to have people walk on my left side, even though I'm missing my right leg, because I tend to lean to my right side when I'm walking. And I always feel if someone's on my left side, I'm not like leaning into them while I'm walking and invading into their space or bumping into them and then throwing them off because sometimes that happens. So there's only ever been one time I was ever comfortable with someone walking on my right side, and I was really insecure about it at first. And that was Ligre. And eventually I became really okay with it because he would basically like link arms when we walked everywhere and would use like I didn't lean so much then, right? Because it was like having an aid, but he would do it in a way that didn't make me feel like I was like, come on, grandma, latch onto my arm kind of thing. Like it was romantic at the exact same time as being helpful. And then it didn't make me feel like I was leaning in and like knocking him over. And he was a strong guy. So he was able to like handle like the pressure of my body leaning into that side as an aid. But I'm very aware, so when anybody tries to walk on that side, and I also think when I walk and I don't realize it, my arms are doing something that's also keeping my gait a certain way. Like maybe I'm swinging my arms or a motion that's actually helping because I don't have a hip joint on my right side. I think I'm using a lot more of my right body, including just my upper body or my back. And so then it's like I'm not like swinging them along for the ride too, if
Very
that makes
interesting.
sense.
I actually do notice that about you, because even though, you know, we have different amputations, but we are friends and we do hang out. And so I noticed that about you too, is that you use a lot of your upper body for balance. So I can see how that would, to be like, don't touch my upper body. Like
Yeah, my arms are actually doing a lot to keep me stable, believe it or not. And you don't really realize it until someone invades that space or you have to do something that takes your
Mhm.
arms away from you and then you're like, "Wait, I need those still."
What about you, James? Have you ever had anyone hold your stump, or
Yes, I have. That's why I brought it up.
how did you feel
The
about
first
it?
time it ever happened, it was in a pool, and I felt weird. But she grabbed my nub. We were in a pool. We were swimming. I don't know why I remember this. I was like 20 at the time, so like 5 years ago. We I just remember her coming up and like I think she meant I honestly I think she thought maybe my hand was on that, like she got my sides mixed up, that she went to actually grab my hand thinking that my hand was on the left side and my amputation was on the right. I don't know. And she got my nub, and I think we were both kind of stunned because it was, and then she just decided to go with it, and I was like, okay, yeah, I don't know, it just felt a little weird. Um, but I've had I'm gonna get in trouble if certain people watch this, but I've had women like be kind of hyper. What do you call it? Like just like over the top attention to it. You know what I mean? Like to your amputation, like, oh, that's so amazing that you're an amputee
Yes.
and that you can
Yeah.
do these things, and like, um, you know, wanted to see all my limbs like the first second date or the first time they come over to my house, and like they were just like hyper attention to it, and like wanted, it got to a point where um they wanted they were like, oh, you know, they'll give you a kiss on the cheek or whatever, and then they're like, oh, nubby kisses or nub kisses or something, and they kiss the nub too. Oh yeah, dude, I had to get used to it.
Stop! No.
I had to get used to it. I'm in trouble. This
No,
person could potentially be watching. So
no.
Sorry. I'm sorry for
yeah,
I
so
wasn't
I
expecting
thought it was a weird thing for a while until I got a little bit used to it, but she was just like trying to be over the top supportive and was like really
I mean,
about
I
that.
think that that's
To the
appreciated.
point where it was kind of, it
Yeah.
ended up being kind of sweet. It wasn't
Yeah,
anything
yeah, yeah, yeah.
weird or kinky. It was just her being kind of sweet. And now that my daughter has an amputation, all the time I do that. You know what I mean? It's just like, oh, nubby kisses. Because I'll like, you know, whatever.
Yeah, but that's cute.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm also imagining it as if a guy was doing it to me, and I feel that's completely different. May I
Well,
say?
there
Absolutely
are,
not.
okay,
Like
so
if a
like,
guy came up to me and was like, "Nubby kisses," and bent down to my
it's
stump,
different if you're a leg amputee.
I'm like,
So close
"Whoa!" Yeah,
to your,
yeah. My brain went visualizing as if it was me, which is definitely a
Well,
different scenario.
I mean, it's also the equivalent of like a hand kiss, I guess.
yeah.
Well,
For
that's cute.
But at the same time, if someone were to kiss my hand nowadays, I I I
Uh-huh.
don't. No, thank you.
The
I'm good.
hand kiss is a
Like,
weird thing,
yeah, I
as
wash
it
my hands
is.
often, but do you really want to be kissing my hand? Okay, well.
No one wants to kiss my sweaty, stinky stump.
Some people do. I was
Yes,
gonna say, full
I shouldn't say
disclosure,
no
like
one.
there are people out there that want to do that, Amanda.
I
We-
personally am the type of person, and this is what I think we're trying to summarize, that we actually like to be treated as if we are a normie. So, y- just as if you were going to help your spouse with a task, like it was like laundry, because their hands were full doing a different task, or they're vacuuming and you step in, we want you to just treat us normally like a partner, is if we have all our limbs, while also being aware there's times that it will affect us in our everyday life, but not hyper focusing on it makes us, I think for me personally, when guys hyper focus on it and they get excited like, oh, it's like a robot leg, and they want to get into all the technical things and start talking about, that's cool and that's great, but it also makes it feel like not authentic. Like I'm not just a person first. I don't want to be an amputee first. I just want to be Amanda first. So if they can see it as like a secondary thing, or like, oh, that's what kind of like, that's what's brought out the characteristic traits that they like about me as a person, instead of, oh, it's so cool that you're an amputee, we could like attach a jet on that leg and you could go really fast. And if their brains are thinking like that, like that's fine, but then I feel you're more my bro,
Yeah.
not my partner. If that makes sense. I just want to be thought about as normal and treated as normal, and not having that like insane hyper focus of
Yeah.
you're amazing all the time just
Yeah.
because we're doing basic things.
It's cool that they admire you for the stuff that you do, you know, and that you're an amputee, and that, you know what I mean, that you're out there living your life and you're independent, and you're like, you know, they watch you. I know that like we're all capable of awesome stuff, and like if someone with two hands, like a regular person, were to watch us in our daily lives, I'm sure they would be like, wow, that's super cool how you do that. And it's stuff we wouldn't even notice now. Like I'm sure other people like would see us and, you know, like could pick out some things that are like cool about what we do, but we don't even sort of notice that kind of stuff.
I'm amazing, but not because I'm an amputee. There's many more things that make me amazing.
Yeah, exactly, right.
So
So it's
many more things that make me
the
amazing.
hyper focus on the amputation, that's a not always the
Well,
best sign. I don't know. It's nice to have somebody that like
it's great
notices
that they
it
care and they're
and like
open and they're positive. Like we're
yeah.
not taking away from that for sure. But
But
it's,
I'm more than just an amputee, you know what I mean? Like
yeah,
seriously,
if
right?
someone
It's
were to
just like
always hyper focus on the fact that you just had an attractive face or body, if someone only ever focused on that aspect and that's all they ever said, exactly, Jamie, you're a perfect example is this. If someone just sat and said those things to you all the time, but never talked about how hilarious you are, how kind your heart is, how intelligent you are, how organized and successful you are, there's so many more things that make you up as a person, and just like anybody else you want to be recognized for those things while still being told that you're pretty or that they're attracted to you. That's an element, but it should only be part of it,
Absolutely.
I don't mind it, but that's just
right? James is like, sexualize me all you want.
oh, go on. Say that. You can say that again.
I
You're
think
so
that's a wrap.
beautiful.
If you have any questions for us, comment them down below. We would love to address them in our upcoming shows. If you enjoyed the video, then make sure that you hit the like button as well as subscribe to our channel and hit the little bell notification so you get notified for any upcoming videos in the future. Remember to always be kind to one another, and until next time, peace.
Happy Limb Loss Awareness Month. Cheers.